Hi everybody, my name is Denis Ryan and I'm an ISO 27001 Information Security Auditor with the NSAI. This is the running order. I have one market survey slide. I will then address the reasons why an organisation should apply for ISO 27001 registration. We will then go through what requirements an organisation has to meet to be ISO 27001 compliant. Topic 4 will run through the Annex A requirements and controls specific to ISO 27001, and then I will detail for you the steps involved in the registration process. This is the summary of a survey published by the UK Department for Digital, Culture and Media in 2018. As you can see, 43% of companies and 19% of charities have identified breaches or attacks in the previous 12 months. Within the 43% of companies, 42% are small companies with a larger focus of 65% on large companies. The impact to the 43% of businesses is also detailed, with 22% having temporary loss of files, 15% experienced corruption, 10% had websites taken down, and 7% had financial implications, and so on. As you can see, lack of proper information security can have a serious impact on your organization. ISO 27001 is the internationally agreed framework detailing the processes that an organization has to have in place to adequately protect its financial data, intellectual property, sensitive data, and IT. It requires an organization to risk assess the threats and vulnerabilities associated with confidentiality, integrity, and availability of its IT systems. And when these risks are adequately ranked, an organization has to implement adequate security controls and implement a risk treatment plan. As always, the focus in the standard is with continuous improvement. The threat landscape is continually changing, and an organization has to continuously improve to address these evolving risks. ISO 27001 requires an organization to have root cause analysis in the event of a security incident or event, and implement appropriate corrective action and learning within the organization to prevent further events. There are many benefits to implementing ISO 27001, especially in ensuring that your organization has processes and procedures in place to ensure compliance with current legislation. Think of the reputational damage that unavailability of your systems would cause with your customers and stakeholders. Also, if you are exchanging information, that you have the necessary up-to-date tools to ensure confidentiality and integrity of these exchanges is maintained. In your marketing effort, having independent certification allows you to confidently state that your information security processes are in line with current best practice. Compliance with ISO 27001 is becoming an increased tender requirement in Irish and international markets, and it separates you from competitors who cannot indicate compliance. It gives you the best framework for structuring your information security system and defining the appropriate responsibilities for personnel within your organization to ensure adequate security and continued risk update. It also ensures that your continued GDPR compliance is addressed. This diagram captures the extent of available documents in the information security family. Of particular interest is the documents detailed as guidance standards. Third row down is ISO 27002. This document gives you guidance on implementing the controls within the standard. Also, we have ISO 27003, which gives guidance on implementing an information security management system in your organization. Of particular interest as well is ISO 27799, which interprets ISO 27001 specific to a healthcare organization. There are internal audit guidance and risk management guidelines documents as well. You can also see that there are many sector-specific industry guidelines available to help you on your implementation journey. All of these documents are available for purchase on our website. We are now going to look at the ISO 27001 standard requirement document. It is divided up into two sections. The first is the system requirements, which I will detail further on, example management review, internal audits, risk assessment, etc. The second is the Annex A requirement. specific to ISO 27001. Annex A is divided into 14 main categories, example HR requirements, asset management, system access, operation security, physical security, development, business continuity, etc. Within these 14 categories, the 114 mandatory controls are detailed. An organisation has to implement these 114 mandatory controls where applicable to ensure compliance with ISO 27001.
The requirement document doesn't really get going until Clause 4. Clause 4 requires you to determine the relevant interested parties, customers, employees, etc. relevant to your system. Also the scope, what services your organisation offers, and the boundaries of the system implemented. Section 5 requires you to detail how commitment to the system is demonstrated by the organisation and its leadership. Your documented policy. Also, that the responsibilities and authorities for roles relevant to information security are assigned and communicated. Section 6 requires the organisation to detail and conduct a risk assessment process, conduct a risk assessment, and apply a risk treatment process. An important area here is the SOA, or Statement of Applicability. This document details all the necessary controls within Annex A, whether they are implemented or not, and, if applicable, the justification for their exclusion. The final bit in this section 6 is the documentation and agreement of measurable information security objectives for relevant functions within the organisation. Section 7, Support, addresses the competence requirements for personnel affecting information security, how information security awareness is addressed in the organisation, the need for external and internal communication, and also the control of documents. Section 8 of the standard requires the organisation to control its internal processes and outsourced processes, and also retain evidence of appropriate control. It requires risk assessment at planned intervals or when significant changes occur, and also the implementation of the risk treatment plan. Section 9 of the standard requires the organisation to evaluate the information security system performance and the effectiveness of the information security management system. It requires the organisation to conduct internal audits of its information security management system, and also top management have to review the continued suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the implemented system. Section 10 details the methodology for handling of non-conformance and corrective action, and changing the system controls where necessary.
We are now moving on to the Annex A controls. Again, they start with A5, which has 2 controls applicable to policies and their review. A6 has 7 controls across roles and responsibilities, project management, mobile devices, and teleworking. There are 6 controls within A7, HR security. These controls relate to employees prior to employment, during employment, and on termination and change of employment. 10 controls within A8, asset management. These controls ensure that applicable assets are adequately controlled, also that information is adequately classified and receives appropriate protection. The modification, removal or destruction of information stored on media is also addressed. There are 14 controls within A9. These are focused on user access management and limiting access to information and processing facilities, making users accountable for safeguarding their authentication information. Also in A9, controls preventing unauthorized access to systems and applications. 2 controls for proper use of cryptography, a policy on use and protection of keys through their life cycle. 15 controls within A11. The objective is to prevent unauthorized physical access, damage and interference to organization's facilities. Again, these continued controls in A11 are focused on preventing loss, damage or compromise of assets. 11 controls in place here in operation security. The objective is to ensure correct and secure operation of processing facilities, to ensure that these facilities are protected against malware and loss of data. There are also controls applicable to event logging and review, and ensuring that technical vulnerabilities are adequately managed. A13, Communication Security, has 7 controls. The focus is on network security and security applicable to data in transit. The purpose of the 13 controls in A14 is to ensure that information security is addressed across the entire software development lifecycle. It also addresses requirements for systems that provide services over public networks. A15 addresses security in supplier relationships, protecting assets that are accessible by suppliers. The objective is also to maintain an agreed level of security in line with supplier agreements. A16, Information Security Incident Management. These 7 controls ensure that the organization has a consistent and effective approach to handling security incidents, events, and weaknesses. A17 deals with the controls and processes to ensure the required level of continuity during an adverse situation. Finally, the 8 controls within compliance. The objective is to avoid breaches of legal, statutory or contractual requirements, and to ensure that adequate reviews are conducted by the organization to ensure continued technical compliance.
There is also additional information available on our website. And as well, on the website we have provided a self-assessment checklist which you can use to give a summary of where you currently are on the compliance implementation.
How do I become certified? First of all, get a copy of the ISO 27001 standard and familiarize yourself with the requirements and especially the Annex A controls within the standard. You may find you have implemented a lot of these already. Conduct a self-assessment or a gap analysis. Use our guidance document, for example ISO 27002 for the controls, and also our guidance for system implementation. Implement a system and review the policies and controls and adjust them accordingly. Log on to the NSCI website or email us and get a quotation for certification. You will then be allocated an auditor. Agree the dates with the auditor. The audit is conducted in 2 phases. Phase 1 is a review of documents and controls. Review the audit report from Phase 1 and address the issues. Agree a time frame for the Phase 2 audit to take place. Complete the audit process, and on successful completion you will get the accredited certificate. Our plan for you is that you are a resilient organization, so select from certification a combination of registrations or just one. You can go to the market and say that I have a quality system that meets best practice, my information security is best in class, I have addressed my health and safety risks, and I am improving my environmental performance, ISO 14001. We want you to reliably inform your client base that you have taken all these steps to minimize the risk of doing business with you, and you can confidently segregate your organization from the competition. Let's do business.